Hi, this is Ariel with Homeschool Together, and in this video we're going to talk all about how to understand homeschooling regulations. How do you find them, and then how do you interpret them? This is a really important part of homeschooling because there are no national standards for homeschool, which is interesting. There's only state laws, and every state is different. Some states have hardly any requirements, while others require detailed learning plans to be submitted for their review. So because all states are different, you're going to have to find your own state's requirements. You can use the HSLDA, that's the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. There's a link down in the show notes here, and you can use that to find the specific link to your state and look at your educational requirements. While every state is different, there are some common themes, and I wanted to point them out to you, things that you need to look for as questions that you need to answer. The first is, what is the compulsory age of education in your state? This means the age at which students must either go to school or declare their intent to homeschool. So if you see declaration of intent, that's what that means. So in our state, for example, it's 8 years old. Before 8 years old, we are educationally free, they would call it. We can do whatever we want. We don't have to tell anybody that we're either homeschooling or not homeschooling. The one caveat to this is if you have had your child in public school previously, you do have to make a declaration of intent that you're going to homeschool because they're already kind of in the system, so to speak. This declaration of intent is something that you typically submit to your superintendent and your local homeschool groups, and we'll put a link to your local homeschool associations. They can really help you find out exactly who to submit it to and what your state's deadlines are. But compulsory age is the first thing that you should definitely look for. The next is, what are the parent-teaching qualifications? So all states are different. Some states require that you have a college education or that you've taken a parent-teaching course, or maybe there's several different avenues you could be overseen by a certified teacher. So definitely look up, what are the qualifications for me to homeschool my child in my state? The next thing is what subjects you're required to teach. Some states are very clear that you must teach these 7 or 8 subjects, and different years may have different subjects. For example, early elementary may not require a foreign language, where upper levels of elementary may require it. So pay particular attention to what subjects your state requires that you teach every year. That also goes with curriculum requirements. Some states have strict requirements that you must use a curriculum, that you can't just unschool or make up your own unit studies and things. So definitely understand if you have any curriculum requirements that you have to adhere to. And usually states will provide you with a number of hours per year or a number of days per year that you have to instruct your child. There's usually some minimum number that you need to meet. So make sure that you're aware of that and that you plan accordingly. Maybe you're going to homeschool just during the school year, and so you really have to care about that. Or potentially you're going to homeschool year round, you're going to get in more than enough hours. But definitely know what your state requires for you to be compliant with the law. The next thing is testing requirements. Every state has different requirements for assessments. Our state, for example, requires an assessment, but we don't have to report it. Other states do require assessments that you do report to the state, and some have no requirements at all. But make sure that you're aware of what the testing is, because you're going to have to make sure that you schedule that, pay for that in advance so that you can get the testing that's required for your state. And then there's the reporting requirements. Some states require you put together a portfolio of all the work that you've done that year. There may be other ways you need to report on how many days you instructed or how many hours of instruction. So be aware. The biggest thing about homeschooling laws is that we have to make sure that we're compliant so they don't try to take away our right to homeschool. And we don't want anyone coming in at the end of your very successful homeschool year, as I'm sure you're going to have, and say that you didn't meet one of these requirements because you weren't aware. So definitely do your homework with this one. It's really necessary to understand all of this. If you want to check out in the show notes, we have a podcast where we went through all of this in detail. If you just want more information about this, we went through some example states and walked through their laws so you could really understand how to interpret that. But these are the questions that you need to have answers to when you look up your state's regulations. I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you in the next video.